I should really think of better titles for these videos. But hello. I'm going to try some more of these. So I've got Thomas's one's done. I've got Diesel's one's done. I'm seeing James only has 2 challenges, which is just drive as James. Alright, start with that. Timetables. What have I not done of a James mission? Do I want to go Knapford, Vickerstown, or Vickerstown to Knapford? They're all about the same time scale, what I look at. Could be 6 o'clock, why not? Do some Gordon missions after this, but James looks like an easy one to, you know, get all the points for. Right. I'm a bit sunburnt, I think, so I'm being a bit of a slug today. It didn't feel like it was that hot, but I got home and was just like, ah yes, I am a raisin. Excellent. Didn't even get to run with Thomas in the end. The outdoor track at the club, the fish plates have all degraded. Well, not all of them. Too many fish plates have degraded to actually be able to run a circuit, which is a bit of a shame, as I'd gone to try and run stuff. However, I hadn't taken stuff to run outside, so it's not as bad. But, no, ran some G-gauge, had a few members of the public, had a couple of, I'm going to go with older ladies, that's probably the polite way of describing it, have great fun driving basically everything they could. And some, you know, small children as well, but a lot of adults today were just like, yo, we can drive the trains? Nice. Got the signal, can't really see because of all the intervening terrain. Yep. Kind of understand why it does it, it's just a bit frustrating. Let's not go over speed. Good acceleration off James. It's only a 4-coach train though. So, I'm really tempted to try. I've got a coach sitting on my shelf over there because I've tidied them up a bit. So, context, because I can do context. At the show I did at the weekend, last weekend, I had someone go, ooh, you know, you're, I think it's their dad, uncle, granddad. One of the people I know had told them, it's like, oh yeah, Scott's got a couple of printers he's trying to get rid of, and you will after one. Do you want it? Which when they came and said hi to me, I'm like, oh yeah, hi. You want to take them away? Excellent. So I've moved number 6, and number 6 has been sitting way up on my shelves for several years, 3 or 4 years now. I got it as a modified by somebody else belt printer, and it works. It doesn't work nicely for what I need, because as much as I could print an entire coach body in one go, the layer quality wasn't quite there, and then combined with the end of 3 KEs that I use, it just didn't speed. So yes, I could print it all in one go, or I could print it in pieces 4 times quicker. So it got shelled. It was a bit of a... I spent far too much money on that, such as the buying hardware that is not entirely, you know, done. However, having moved that one, I'm going to move 5 next, downstairs ready for it to get picked up. I've now got, I think I counted, it was 18 coaches and long wheelbase wagons up on the top shelf where the printer was. Not that it took up the whole space, but because of all all the other bits and pieces that were up there. You know, you can't keep stuff on the same shelf as all of that. So yeah, now I've got a load of coaches and they're all parked end on. I'm looking at them going, I should get that painted. So I've got a collection of Lima, blue-grey Mark 1s. Quite nice. The problem is I've got 3 of them, and as much as they're quite nice, how many do I need? Not in the sense of, you know, I've got too many. No, in the sense of like, well, how many do I actually want to make in that profile? Because that's all they're going to run with. Whereas, I acquired at the beginning of the year a couple of LNER TSOs. I've got a LNER BG that I've been building. And I've got a few other bits and pieces that are all in the more standard profile, because the Lima stuff is a bit small. Not quite sure why, but it is. But the chassis is correct. Enough. Apart from it being too short. Obviously the ride height and everything though is correct, which is useful. But no, as I say, words get there eventually. However, I've got one coach built for that set, and it's a standard open, nothing exciting. I'm sitting there going, if I make any more, which size do I build? And I think I'm just going to have to build full-size ones. I got here really early. I'll talk about coaches for a bit then. So I'm looking at these ones and going, these are equivalent to Blood and Custards, in livery at least. They're a bit of an odd, semi-open saloon type. But I've got a James with a more proportional firebox. He's over there, actually. Yeah, he's on the shelf now. And I can make some coaches to go with, because, well, it's kind of my job. I'm sitting there going, what do I build? Because I've got a customer who went, could you do me some Southern Bogey coaches? And I'm going, that's what a lot of the stuff on the show used. I could have a go at that. If I can find the drawings, I can make some coaches. So, I might be making a set of, not specific to Thomas or the Railway series or anything, just a set of coaches that are actually cohesive for my Steam era stock, because I've got some 1910 era coaches, and they're nice. I've got about 8 of them. But they're suburban coaches. They're, you know, short distance, sort of this sort of work coaches. Whereas, I should have checked out the signal first. That's doing a bit of work there. Oh, there's Gordon. There we go. That's nice. So I've got a series of 1910s Great Central coaches. But I've not really got any locos to run with them. Not specific ones. So as much as, well, 4 of them are 5, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 of them are currently in varnished teak look. They can run with basically anything, they're not particularly era specific. I've got one in the pre-1910s, sort of 1905 livery, which does look rather nice. That's a bit more limiting. And then I've got 3 Mark 1s in blue grey. So I've got a sort of about 40-50 year gap in my operational rolling stock. A little bit over speed. And that's not a problem. You know, I don't normally run passenger sticks, I'm very boring. However, look at my little hobbit in there. Young CO! Look at him! Anyway, 1/8 of a mile, I think I'm going downhill. I should make a break soon. I I'm driving under the speed limit, except I'm really not. Maybe the line speed. Need to get all the AP points so I can do the next unlock. Yeah, no, I've got quite a few four-wheelers. We've been out of bogey coaches. But it'd be nice to have some quite sort of nice enough mainline coaches that are more era appropriate. So I've got those LNER ones, but they're a bit of a wreck. I got them very cheaply. I've built new bogies for them. They need draw gear, because they don't really have that. From the era they are, they're sort of hook and pin, or loop and pin type couplings. O-Gauge has some weird quirks. I was sitting there going, well, I've got two coaches. I've got the drawings to make more, but they'd all be LNER ones. That's a little limiting. What do I want to work on? Because this is my terrible thing I will do, is I'll go, ooh, I want to do something. And if it's a bigger project, that might take a while. I got here 2 minutes early. That's what I get for speeding. No, so I've got all the work I need to be doing for my day job requires me to draw stuff. And I really should get on with it. But motivation for me doesn't work like that. It's not just the, hey, you need to get paid, do the work. It's a, hey, you need to be actually wanting to do this project so I can, like, make all the pieces in my brain and then fit them together. I don't know how some people draw. Apparently they can just sit down and go brr and then come out with a finished thing after a few hours. I can do that sometimes. I can't make it happen every time. It worked quite well with the VEA van I did a few days ago. That's come out quite nicely. I've got a few of them on my build pile. I've got one van wide. I need to do the air brake version as well. And I've got a couple other vans that I've had on my to-do list. I've got a fourth one that's nearly built. It just needs the draw gear putting on. I've got a fifth one that needs assembling, but as it's still a kit, it's going to stay that way until I've cleared some on my build pile, because going, ooh, let's make more things, doesn't catch me up very well. And I've got a stack of stuff on the derelict printer, I say derelict, the out-of-use printer next to me, that I really should use, build, and then put somewhere else. Like, I've got a load of dogfish that just need new axle boxes, and wheels. Oh, that's an easy job. I mean, the rest of them's painted, so it should be a nice, easy one to do. I just need to get on with it. James was a lot more sprightly out of Knapford. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. This yard always bothers me, because the only way to access it is that turntable. I feel like that was an oversight. Right, let's get up to some amount of speed. I believe, is that Edwards branch line? Is that junction? Yes, I think that's Edwards branch line. Kind of hope they have that in the DLC. I am actually in the on the subject of me doing far too many different things at once. My plan for tomorrow, because I'm going to have the day off because I'm a bit sunburnt and I don't want to go back outside and make it worse. I just want to sit down and do nothing. Right. I'm going to try and finish my Port of Par Twins. As I've got a couple of faces now that I commissioned for a nice person on Facebook that was recommended to me. And I'm going to get them done, because I've got one of them mostly finished. They are going to be an identical pair rather than the slightly unmatched pair that are Alfred and Judy. But, you know, I've had the parts for ages. I know I need to finish projects. This is why I'm saying I'm going to try and finish Bill or Ben and then make the other one with any improvements needed, and then maybe do a third one, I'm not sure, to replace the first one. basically build a test one, see how it goes, then because I've got all the bits, I just need to finish. Wiring them is going to be a bit more difficult, but that's mostly just a case of I need to get around to it. Was that Gordon's Hill? I feel like that was Gordon's Hill. I wasn't paying attention. Alright, yeah, I'm feeling like this is a downgrade. Right, brake a bit more. I'm getting very distracted today. Can you tell? So I'm going to have a day off tomorrow. I need to not do much. Yeah, so I've got my Porta Par Locos, which I've got the faces for now. I'm going to make probably a few more clay trucks just to go with them, because I've got 2. And 2 clay trucks isn't a bad number, but it's not a particularly exciting one. And I'm probably going to make the wagons with the door style I've done on my newer mineral wagons. As if you've seen any of them, you'll know that they've got the door hinges in the body rather than above the body, which is significantly less fragile. Where did my textures go? Game? Game, are you okay? There we go. I also saw that they had a load of coaches out on the GC today on the north end. And I didn't actually see what the full train was like, but it's quite a sizable set they're running now. In readiness for the Flying Scotsman visiting. Presumably they're recalling any coach they've had out on loan or otherwise. And yeah, there's 7 or 8 at least now. That'll be a good set to see behind an A3 and an it's an A1. Yeah, it's an A1 Tornado's an A1. I'm being tired and stupid, as opposed to my normal just stupid. Yeah, I'm gonna try and finish a load of projects off. I'm gonna fail at that. I'm not gonna lie. I'll end up going, ooh, I want to do one of these and do that. At some point, when the club's got the new bits, I'm going to replace the fish plates on the outside track so it works properly, because I want to go and run my mineral train, as in a few weeks' time I will be going to the various railways that have them to go and survey them so I can make my nice models, because I'm an exciting person. I'm doing a lot of talking at stations mostly, because that's what the timetable requires. I'm hoping to get the new box for my Black 5, because honestly, I have had that thing for 4 months. It's run about 2 feet. It's a lovely thing. It's run about 2 feet though, because it is very big and very fragile and quite heavy. And I'm waiting for the gentleman I purchased a box from to send it to me. And I'm trying to remember how I contacted him. Because I think it was through Facebook. Or it might have been an email, but I can't find an email. So I think I'm going to have to hunt through my Facebook and try and work out how I messaged him to just check what's going on with that. Because I ordered that in January, and I think he said March, although it might have been April, and it is now April. So I would like my travel box, please, so I can take my train for a walk. It's been an awkward one to do, because it's, you know, carry it like a, no, it's like a lunchbox, that's not the right word either. It sits in the box, and it's not, you know, like, fixed in place, so I'm a bit hesitant to, you know, chuck it in a bag like I would with most newer stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to running it, and I want to give it a good inaugural run with a nice train, which will probably be the SO tanks, the mineral wagons, or possibly the ICI wagons or the van train, depending on what's available at the time. Because the other thing is, if I take the big loco somewhere, I gotta carry it and the wagons. I mean, the club have wagons, but it's not the same. I may have to organise it as a day when mother is visiting, so I can beg a lift down rather than having to get it all on the bus. There are many options. Right, let's get James up to a nice cruising speed. There we go. And we stay here for another mile. So heading to Kronk now. Not quite sure if they should be that narrow, but it works. Divider. Over a big suspension bridge. Oh, I am held by the bounds of the bridge. Yeah, plans to do some Gordon missions after this, but the James one I might be able to do in one go. Slow down more steadily rather than just sort of feather the brakes or slam the brakes. It's going 10 miles an hour a lot slower, 10 miles an hour slower. And yeah, that'll do. There we go. So we are now at Kronk. Got some evening sunshine. Should be a nice day. Yeah, no, I need to catch up on some projects, finish some work, be a productive person. Go and see the lady friend. Try and be a bit more of a functional person when it comes to actually getting stuff done. Because as much as I do enjoy my job, working most of every day gets a bit dull, and work every day means I've got options to do some other things, but it's I don't know, I'm in that I kind of want a bit of a break right now, so having a day off once a week is actually quite a nice plan, as I normally end up working Saturdays, as post is available in the morning, and if I've got work in I try and get it done. Working Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Normally have a Sunday at the club, but I'm not sure if I'm going to maintain that all the time for a bit. And then Wednesdays I'm down at Rothley enjoying myself on big wagons. Got 2 of them got tripped out Friday, so we've only got 3 in the yard now, 2 to work on. I'm just thinking of the whistling before bridges and Trampy's video from yesterday that I saw. Trampy has an interesting style of video making. What's I doing? I was meant to try and think of more relevant bits of conversation for while I'm doing this quite long drive. So I like doing the more sort of involved driving, because that to be a bit more doing things rather than just hold down W. Already got a distance signal, so we're nearly at Kildane. So I was trying to read the pop-up for a text message before it actually disappeared. Oh dear. Got any videos of your new and improved Thomas? No, I didn't actually run Thomas properly today. I have pictures. I can send you some. Let's say they're on my Discord. You're not on Discord. There's 15 pictures I got it all in. Oh, there's Emily. yeah, no, I will post them later. So I was going to try and do some Thomas missions then. I realised I did them all last time in readiness for the doing that thing. Let me just... right, that's that one. That picture's one of the better ones. That's one of the better ones. There we go. Right. There you go. I've just sent you 3 of the better pictures. I was going to get a video, but as I said, I barely ran inside. I got my stuff set up to run inside. I think I ran 2 trains in, and then what we're doing, helping with some work on the building, and there being a lot of people down today, I went, oh, I'll go run outside. By the time I got everything working, about 2 o'clock-ish, the others were all gearing up to go home, so I had to bring it in again. And then it was really busy, because as I was packing up, a literal trainload of people arrived. And I was in the, I now need to try and manage putting everything away and getting the building open enough so I can have the layouts on, and unfortunately someone else was floating around and they were happy to help run Ruddington for a bit, but they needed a bit of an intro because they hadn't actually run it themselves before. They'd run it with other people, which is fine, you know, I don't mind helping out with that kind of stuff, but it just meant that I didn't actually run in my own trains today. Which is a bit of a, you know, gone down to run my new train. Don't run my new train. Part of me goes I could go down tomorrow for a bit, but then I'd end up being there all day. And I want to help out with the work on the building. It's not black, it's a darker grey. It's actually a lighter grey than I normally do them. But yeah, I normally go with a dark grey roof. I've seen some ones with white roofs, they look grubby so quickly, especially with how I end up doing a lot of the track cleaning and stuff, because you know how the track runners always just get you filthy. Yeah, I'm still undecided on is the boiler too high on my Thomas. Because I've got a 4-foot diameter boiler, because the water tanks look too thin otherwise. If you've got saddle tanks and a heavy boiler, you just sort of, or side tanks and a heavy boiler, just kind of, I don't know, the proportions didn't look right, and I'm trying to make it look like the Railway Series illustrations. Not that they're consistent, but you know. And I'm thinking I might make the tank 6 inches shorter. Maybe the cab 6 inches shorter as well, to keep the proportions. And oh no, because that won't work, because the issue I've got is the cab side windows look too small. But if I make them bigger, it means I'm going to make the tank smaller. If I make the tank smaller, I'm going to make the boiler lower, which makes the front of the cab bigger. I'm only getting single whistles. Can they change that? So that was a long tap followed by a single tap. So, okay, it does appear to be somewhat better. No, I've moved some stuff about now, so instead of having a bunch of coaches I need to work on, clustering at the front of my shelves, I've now got a nice view of a lot of the wagons on there. And it's quite nice. I've got a whole shelf just covered in brakeman's. Yeah, no, part of me goes, I could go down and help tomorrow, because I feel a bit bad. So, as we're cleaning up the outside of the building, I was like, oh, there's a bit of tatty paint there. I'll just scrape that off. And it took a big chunk of the wood with it, because that corner had rotted. And it looks really dire. It looks really awful. And I feel bad, because it's like, I've made that worse when we were nearly at the point of painting it. But it needs doing. So it's one of those, I've made a problem worse and then not really helped out with it too much. But I have also identified the problem rather than just having it be a thing that's going to sit there in the background like a gremlin, slowly consuming the building. But yeah, the corner is properly rotted. So at some point the building was plasterboarded inside, which was new to me. However, over that is plywood in some places. And the problem is, because it's gotten damp, the plasterboard's all melted, and the plywood's rotted. So, I need to repair that corner. Oh yeah, we're coming up to this, but this is one of the reasons I was going to do these ones. Is one of the things you unlock is the fairground stuff. And as you will see on the left of the train, there's a Ferris wheel. And then like some cows and horses and stuff. Great. Kelsford Road. 900 yards to go. So, not in a rush to slow down, but I'm not going to accelerate more. As I've got 2 minutes where I need to arrive. But yeah, so it's I could go tomorrow, and then I'm like, yeah, but then I want to help out with all the work on the building, and I won't actually play trains. And if I'm going to try and play trains, then, you know, I kind of want to do that, but if I don't want to do that while people are doing other work, whereas today I was doing useful stuff most of the day. I fixed a few locos, or at least identified what was wrong with them. One of them had, I think, got oil in the commutator because when I powered the motor up, fire came out of it, which was quite impressive. Fire then stopped coming out of it, and it's running fine. The problem is, one of the pickups broke off, and now I need to bridge that across the frames to make it work. I've got 2 minutes to wait. And that's not a job I could do on the workbench on the back of the layout without just, you know, sloping off into the other room to use the all the equipment in there. So that's fun. I got a bit, you know, I've tried to get some jobs done. I tidied up after we had the young people down to operate the layout. They're enthusiastic and they are very helpful, but I'm an old man now, apparently. You know, I will continue to enjoy running my Suburbans and coal trains. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, no, we found a Toby. And I've no idea how long it's been there for. I'm pretty sure it's been there the entire time I've been at the club. Which begs the question, what? When did we get that? Whose is it? Why is it there? But it runs nicely. And I'm thinking I might make a Henrietta. But more in the style of the Henrietta that I built. Now, I've got somewhere a set of wheels. So I could try and make a proper Wisbech and Upwell tramcar. But the problem is, if I do that, it'll probably be quite fragile. Whereas I can try one that's a bit the heavier, chunkier design that I've done more recently. Hello, Extra Engine 1. I am waiting at a station. This is the exciting part of the stream. I'm tempted to make a Henrietta. In the same style as I've done for Mark and my Irene, and I think some others I made at one point. And it shouldn't be too much work. And if I get one of those tank chassis, they're only about 15-20 quid sort of thing. And that gives me all the wheels and couplings. And well, I say, or I can do one like yours. The problem is, we need a donor vehicle to make that one. And given a new annual Clarabelle goes for about £50 to £70, as much as it would be a nice, you know, consistent thing to do, that's quite a lot of money, versus I can spend £20 and still need to build a new body. So I'm a bit torn really, because I've got my one. I've got my Whizbeach. I've got my tram car on a shelf to the side of the room. It's currently got a container parked in front of it, so you can't see most of it, but it's the bogey version, and it's quite nice. And I could make another one like that quite easily. And it's just sort of, okay, but do I want to? Not, oh, I don't want to, as in more in the sense of, which version of it do I make? Do I make the one that's cheaper? Do I make the one that runs better? You know, what's the compromises here? Do I ask if the club want to fund it, or do I just make it because I want to? Because my Irene, which is based on the one I'm going to leave at the Norfolk Railway, the Pony Survivor one, I normally run that at Mavis. I'm tempted to repaint it. I've currently got her in the purple and white livery I did for the Queen's Jubilee. I'm kind of tempted, do I repaint it? And if I do, well, what colour do I repaint it? Do I just paint her brown? It's a bit boring. Do I paint her blue and white, a bit like Victoria, and like a few of my other coaches? Do I paint her in red and white? That'd be a bit more cheerful, you know, a bit like this kind of livery. So it's quite a few decisions. And then combined with, we don't actually know whose it is. I think it's the club's. I would assume so, because it's been there for a very long time. I thought it was an empty box. And then moved it and was like, it's Hannah. Hannah is the yellow one, isn't she? And here's the other thing. I could make Henrietta and Hannah. And then that becomes a... So I think Hannah's another four-wheeler, isn't she? Or is she a bogey coach? I don't remember. I've only seen stills. I've not seen proper pictures or the ones in the show because I've not seen those seasons. I've barely seen the show at all. I think I've watched about 4 or 5 episodes total when they were on Amazon Prime, and I went, I don't like these. It had stuff like, oh, when the weather is hot, the rails expand. So to help the rails cool down, you're going to paint them white. And they didn't paint the sides of the rails. They painted the tops. And I was like, guys, come on. What? You saw that, right? I'm going to overshoot this platform now because I saw a ghost and it spooked me. Not in the sense of like, a ghost, more in the sense of, what? What's that clip? What's that bug doing? Just a guy just vibing across the track in front of me. Well, there's a lot of people got off at this station. So we are now at Crovan's Gate, the interchange of the narrow gauge. I got here 2 minutes early again. Oh, I need to go less quickly. Well, James has just got a lot of flexibility in his timetable. Bring. But no, there's a lot of these options where it's like, oh, I could probably make a Victoria quite easily. A bit like, well, with the 2 coaches that I made for Emily, we could get proper Emily coaches. I just heard it. Oh, right, that's nice. I was like, I record odd bits and pieces all over, and I'm very, very messy for what I actually put on this channel. Because ages ago, I had a separate channel I did for gaming stuff to differentiate it from my main channel, which was just a sort of mess. The problem is, I'm really lazy and I couldn't be able to keep changing to the other account what to do stuff. So I just sort of don't use that one anymore. But it exists. I think it's linked to the description. I was going to make a new one for my work stuff to, you know, have that separate because attempting to look professional and all that stuff. But then again, it's, you know, it's me messing about with trains. It's about it, really. I've got another 40 seconds. But yeah, no, I want to run more of my stuff. I need to get the outside track sorted to do it properly, because as much as I can run Edward a bit around on the club's indoor layout. It's a bit limiting, and I want to give him a good run, and I want to find a decent set of coaches to run with him, and I've got a string of 5 or 6 suburban coaches that will run very nicely and have in the past. But I need the track to work. And I need to paint them a bit more, because I've got 3 of them I can see up there that I've put new bits on, because I did some detailing work, having found drawings, references, photos, all those useful things, to make them better. And I haven't got around to painting them, because I glued them onto already sort of scumble effect wood, or rather scumbled wood effect paint. So it's the, if I don't do it well, I can't really do that. So I'm not rushing those. I should have just printed them in black plastic, because they're all just... It's stuff like the lighting cable jumpers, the brake pipes that are better, the train lighting, all that stuff. I don't think I put back release ones on those ones. I think I decided that was too much work. The new ones have got them built in. There's all that where it's like, I can run them. It's like, yeah, but they look a bit messy, and I want to make them nice before I run them. And then I need time, and then when I'm trying to work 8-10 hours every day, it doesn't leave me much time. And the days I lose Skype off to like go and do stuff I want to do, I can come back and go, oh, I've got so much I need to be doing, and then I do nothing. It's great. Don't recommend ADHD. Not properly diagnosed, but that's what it seems to be based on what I have read, seen, experienced, all that fun stuff. I'm terrible for sticking on one task. This is why I'll just zone out while I'm driving on this game and be like, oh yeah, station. I'm trying to get better at it, but it's having something to talk about during it. Yeah, so I want to make some coaches. I've got, you know, I think what was I talking about last stream? Was it that I was talking about I want to make an Emily? I could make an Emily quite easily. The problem is I need about 200 quid to do it, and I can't really justify spending £200 right now on making an engine that I wouldn't really use very much. Especially when I've got other engines that are on my to-do list that people are happy to pay me to make, that are in about the same ballpark for cost. I've got some fun projects on my list. I just need to get to them. I also need to make a Henrietta for somebody 2 years ago. I feel bad when I look at stuff like that. Like, I need to take those tickets down and just go, right, they've not poked me about it. They've not paid me up front, because I never take money up front. Anyone that says otherwise is not familiar with how I work. I don't even take deposits. Do you have a G-scale Batman Emily? The club does. I have technically got a Toby, however, as Mark has the body of them to make as a alternate livery version, I have a Mavis, and I have a few wagons I can run with Mavis. I have got, and I really should get around to it, and I've just realised where it is, and why I've forgotten it. I have a pair of coaches I'm actually building for our club's James that are not this style quite. They're a bit more normal, for want of better phrasing. Mainly because they've got the corridor, the compartment partitions in to give it a bit more strength. But I do have a pair of coaches for the club's James. We've got a couple of coaches for Emily. We've got Annie and Clarabelle for Thomas. It would be nice to have a Henrietta for Toby. Immediately have a go at some branch on coaches. The first question is, why? We've got loads of rolling stock already. We already can't quite fit it all properly in the boxes we've got. Adding to that is not really better, so at the moment I've got a couple of coaches, a couple of vans, a flat truck, get some regular waggle time. Turn your volume up. Me? Or... See, because I turned myself down, because last time I was peaking really badly. Your voice can go down the game audio. Right. At the next station, I'll sort that. Because I was looking at my audio feedback and going, ooh, that looks awful. But apparently it's fine, and it's just me thinking it's awful. The one time I changed. Yes, once I get to the next station, I'll sort that out. I feel like I could just pause, but I'm going to have time at the station to complete, so I'll do it. It won't take long. In fact, I don't need to pause. I can go... Nope. -5. I see we have been joined by a young person. Interesting. It was mostly the tunnel echo. Ah, interesting. Right, I am now... So you got some errors in there. I'm also almost at Vickerstown. I need to drop anchor. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear, that signal was red. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to the station, I'm going to time out Glitch Marlow, and then we're going to go do another mission. Well, I got to the station nearly 4 minutes early. We're not going to question how fast I was going. Get to the right end of the station. You'd think you'd want to be in the middle of this platform, not right at the end. But, hey, you know. And that'll do. There we go. Oh, this is nice. I do like the big signal gantries that are all relatively correct. There's a few that don't fire properly. Like there's one that comes up for a junction signal and it has both arms go. So that's a bit weird. Right. Have I completed the James mission? Challenges. James. No. What do I have to do to get that then? Because I just did that. Either it's not registered or it's just being difficult. It's done that before. Maybe that's a bug. I don't know. But it's a bit annoying. Complete a story mission or timetable as James. Well, I guess I'm going to do a Gordon mission because I said it would. That's what do I need to do for a Gordon mission? Play a story mission or timetable mission. Drive as Gordon. Okay. So, Gordon has a very exciting schedule. That is Vickerstown to Knapford, which is the one to go for. Have I fixed my audio, by the way? As I've set it back to what it was previously. Unlock the doors. Gordon looks very unimpressed. See, for how wide the platforms are, you'd think they'd have a through road. Because, you know, for like freight and stuff. Even if it's just one. I don't know, maybe I'm being a boring person. Of course I'm being a boring person, that's what I do. This is a 5-coach train. Oh, 20 more seconds to go. $5 seconds to go. These passengers want this train, they need to hurry up. Again, I've got my little hobbit driving. You can't see out. Right, so now onto the fast. Since there is only one train that uses the express line, it seems that they don't need two. So having 3 tracks makes sense rather than 4. And to be honest, the amount of stations with loops, you could probably just not worry about it. So I'm going to stick the headlamp on. There we go. I should use my headlamp discs more for my locos. I've got a bag of them. They're here in front of me. I need to paint them white and paint the backs black so they look proper. But yeah, keep me busy. Gordon's tender rocks around an awful lot considering how heavy it is. Bong. No, I'm thinking next weekend I might go down to the diesel gala at Loughborough. Not sure. Maybe nice too. Mainly because I want to go see some trains. Not necessarily because I want to go on the trains. You know, I'd be kind of fine with going as far as Quorn or Rothley and then just sitting there watching stuff go past for a while. Again, I'm an exciting person. Now, can I get up to the, what is that, 85? 90? I think it's 90 line speed. The answer, probably not. So we're approaching Henry's Tunnel. What's your favourite character to drive in this game? Now, hands down, unfortunately, for most people, it's Diesel. Before I found out a few of the extra things that make this game a bit easier, Diesel is reliably the easiest to drive. He's got really good low-speed torque. So he can just pull stuff. He's got decent enough braking. He's actually got pretty good speed. Combined with the fact he's very flat. So he's quite easy. But what I do, if I'm playing on my own, or I think I've streamed a few times, is I will use a pair of diesels, like a Class 13, like a Tinsley Hump Shunter, because the brake force is massive, and brake force is useful. Because I will shunt at the Anofa Quarry, and just, you know, drag a load of wagons around, and you need them to stop. You know, I like all of the engines for their certain factors, but the one I will default to wanting to drive is Diesel. Excuse me. Right. I have got 3 miles, and I've got about 4 minutes to do it. Now, as I'm doing more than a mile a minute, I reckon I'll make it on time. I do have to wonder what is the time in the game, because it doesn't feel like it's 2 seconds per second, but it's definitely not 1 second per second. I kind of like this view. I should have swapped back out and gone for the free cam, but or the boiler cam, the back of the train cam. Well, the coupling shouldn't be flopping around that much. It's normally up on a hook, so it doesn't rattle about. Mainly because if it's got a longer set of shackles on it, you can actually smash up your AWS equipment. Which one is normally a big metal plate behind it so it can't bang and upset the magnet. Excuse me. Again, me being a very boring person. One thing I had been doing the last few days, again, I've been feeling, because I've had a bit less printing work to do, I've been being a bit more proactive on just doing stuff. I sorted out all my 40-ton hoppers, and I've got quite a few of them. It's a mixture of walrus, sea lion, and sea cows. Where should I start breaking? 400 yards. Alright, well that's covered. I'm gonna go to the outside. There we go. Coming up on Crovan's Gate. Ooh, 15. 15. I'm not going to make that. This is why route knowledge is important. Ooh. Anyway, once I get to the station, I do feel like the game hasn't had any updates, but I do feel like they fixed the brakes. Because I'm sure the braking used to be a bit more haphazard when I first started playing this. But no, so at the moment I've got, can I identify them at a distance? Sea cow, sea lion, walrus, sea lion, sea cow, sea lion, sea lion, sea cow. Which is very boring and exciting for possibly 2 or 3 people in the audience. I should have, if I can spot them all, 4 sea cows. So where's the other one? 1, 2, 3. Where's sea cow number 4? Where's that sea cow? I can't read. It's that one. So I've got 4 later body sea cows. I've got what did I say? 3 sea lions? 3 sea lions. 4 sea lions, because I've got one on my desk in more pieces, and a walrus currently in that set. So that will make a very nice set to run with my Class 66 eventually. Although it won't have the walrus in it at that point, because the Class 66 is a air only, and the walrus is a vac only. However, my 31, which I believe is 31.563? 31.563? Is a dual pipe, as is the pair of 37s I've got, as is the 47. I need to run more of my stuff. I got a load of stuff cheap at the end of last year. Just bargains. Too many to get, you know, too good an offer to pass up sort of thing when I had the money available for it sort of thing. Not a lot of money either. Like, I think if I pulled all of the money I spent on them together, I could maybe buy one at regular price. And I got about 4 locos. It was a good winter. But with it being winter, club hadn't, you know, couldn't run stuff outside because horrible weather. And as a result, I've not really used them. So I've got my nice little bubble car down here. I've got a Class 47. I've got a couple of Class 37s. I've got my Class 60 that barely gets run. I need to get my A3 running, because I want to get it nicely tuned up before it's hopefully going to be running outside this summer. I need to get the 47 fixed. How cheap? Ooh. I think I paid something daft like £90 for a Class 47 in O-gauge. It's a lovely thing too. I'm very torn on if I want to repaint it or not. but it doesn't match anything else I've got. Most of the stuff I've got is sort of 80s, 90s large logo. That's my go-to, because that's what I remember, just about, when I was but a wee lad. So, the 37 I've got, the plan for it is to become a large logo one. I got a triple stripe grey one, but I then after that acquired a lovely large logo blue one that will do the job quite nicely. Oh, that was it. It wasn't large logo grey, it was rail freight red stripe, which is large logo grey with a red stripe. And I got that one for not a lot of money. In fact, I technically didn't pay any money for it, I don't think. I part exchanged a number of wagon kits to a nice gentleman who had one for sale, and the plan is for that one to become a Buxton 37 for use on my ICI train, which currently is 7 hoppers, and I kind of want to push that up to 10 or 12, but I need to check how big the box I've got is, because I fear the box I've got, I think it does 3 per layer. If it does 3 per layer, I can fit 12 in the box. And 12 hoppers is a good-sized train. In fact, it's probably a bit more than a good-sized train, but it's that thing of I make my own kits. The effort of making them is obviously a factor, but what era do you typically model? As I say, it's sort of 80s, 90s Speedlink for the most part, because that's a lot of the stuff I've been asked to draw originally. I do like my engineers stock, especially the Dutch, the grey-yellow livery stuff. But as I do more work with preserved lines, I need to stop because I'm doing nearly 80. What am I doing? I'm not even going to slightly get this, am I? Nah. Right, okay. I'm gonna go back a checkpoint if I can. Okay, apparently that's not a checkpoint option. Okay, well, I didn't come off the rails, so... oops, I guess. I'm not paying enough attention. I should probably get some sleep by that metric. But no, as I'm working with preserved lines more, I've been working with more historic vehicles, so I've got a lot of sort of 50s, 60s stuff. I have indeed caused confusion and delay, mostly for any passengers that wanted to get off there. It's a very loud bandstand. I've got 6 miles to go before the next station. So I've got a big train of pre-tops coal wagons. I've got a fairly sizable train of pre-tops tank wagons. I'm working on a train of vans, because it's all stuff, excuse me, that runs at the Loughborough end of the Great Central. Because that's where I do work once a week, and it's enjoyable. However, my engineer stuff spans about 80, not quite 80 years. It will eventually. I've got some new stuff I need to work on. It's 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s stuff. Primarily the British Rail examples, but it's a few of the LMS and LNER and Great Western examples. I'll have to do some Southern ones eventually. And I've also got, I'm looking at them now, always a nice thing for me to do, to go, is all my Shark brake vans. So I've got them ranging from the earliest built British Rail ones up to the later modified EWS one. which I think was one that got burned out, but was still functional. So it's just used as a service vehicle rather than as a breakdown. Words. I'm flagging a lot now. It's bad. I thought I was going to get spad though for that running through the station without stopping. Brain. No, I should probably do an LMS Oyster. Oh, excuse me. An LMS Oyster because that's what they were originally built for. I do have a LNER cockle van, which is a bit like a shark except the ploughs are between the wheels rather than outside. I have got one of the Isle of Wight Railways one painted up in their southern brown and red livery. Which again looks rather nice. I'm tempted to try some southern era walrus at some point because I've got the model for it. That's the easy part. It's the do I build the late southern or do I go for the London South Western Railway one? And because that might be quite fun, but then I'm building that one wagon for that one job, which is a bit do I want to? Versus words. Building a southern built one, but they survived into Dutch. You know, they survived into the 90s. So there's one, I believe, still preserved at York, hopefully. Unless it's been disbanded from their collection, as they've now got a sea lion. Although it is only a sea cow, it started life as a sea lion. Yeah. I've definitely got one or two in the build pile. Excuse me. Oh, I wasn't even up that early. Why am I being so sleepy? Straight through. Can't read it. I'm being terrible today for remembering where I am. I'm being distracted. It's going well. However, the game will mostly drive itself. Brain. But now I've got a lot of there. I get projects from my customers. That's how a lot of the stuff I have I get, because when a customer went, "Oh, could you do me some Amy Roadstone PGA stone hoppers?" I went, "Yeah, sure." So I made him one. He's like, "Oh, this is nice. Could you do me a different one so there's a bit of a mixture in the train?" And I went, "Sure." And then one of his mates went, "Oh, those are really nice. Could I get some that don't match, though, so we can tell who's easily without having to, worry about it," sort of thing. And I went, "Sure." So I've got 4 different types of Amy Roadstone stone hoppers. And I've got a decent collection of them. And then, you'll never guess what. One of their friends went, "Ooh, I've seen these, I like them. Could you do the Foster Yeoman one? Because I'm from that part of the country where the Foster Yeoman stuff ran, and it wasn't an Amy Roadstone area, because it's, it's all based out of the quarry." It's Gordon that's got rubbish brakes. There we go. So we're at Mary. Now, I've already got the signal, so I could run through if I really wanted to, but I feel like the Fat Controller might have me melted down. Brain. So I've got Foster Yeoman, Amy Roadstone, and Redland. So I've got 3 different operators of PGAs. And if I want to do it properly, I want 20 or 30 of those wagons as one block train. Nice, easy, job done. I am 4 minutes early because I missed the last station. So I'm sitting here for a while. And Solid Stone Hoppers. Oh, my sweet summer child, it gets so much worse. So I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I've got 9 built and painted PGA hoppers. I've then got How many are there? 2, 3... I think I've got 4 or 5 more to build, or finish building, in that set. And they're a mixture of yeoman and arc ones. I've got some more redland ones to draw. And that's just the aggregates traffic ones. I've then got roadstone, my ICI hoppers. 7 of those. I've then got ballast, and I'm not actually sure. Let's try and run through the numbers. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11? 11. I'm sure it was 12. I'm just going around looking at them and going, that one, that one, that one. At least 11 40-ton ballast hoppers. See you, Mark. I might be up for tomorrow. I'll see how I feel in the morning. So I've got 11 40-ton hoppers. I've got at least a couple of whales, which are the 50-ton hoppers. I've got a mackerel. I've got, I want to say, 5 herring. I've got 2 others of a different type of herring. I've got a couple of trout, a couple of... Ooh, what are those ones called? A couple of gannets. I want to say 6 dogfish, a catfish, a puffin, grampus, tunny... What was the other one? Grampus, tunny... The little ones. It's a medfit, but it's used for ballast, and it's got a name, and I can't remember what the name is. I like my stone trucks. I've been building these for years. This is not meant to be me trying to flex or anything. This is literally going, I build these for my job. Every time I do a new, better version of it, I will make myself one to be like, I like this. This is a nice thing. But I keep the old ones. Unless they're shockingly bad. I haven't retired many vehicles, but there's a few I probably should. I'm looking at a Sea Cow right now that is shockingly bad. But it runs. So, you know. Oh, only 50 seconds to go. I've waffled quite successfully. But no, as I was saying earlier, I want to build my pair of Port of Par tank engines. So they'll be quite fun when they're done. I don't know if they're going to be particularly strong, but, you know, we'll find out. And to go with them, I have a Boko in the works. The problem is, I have barely started the drawings. And it's a lot of work, so I've got to draw 2 different bogies that both need to be able to be power bogies. And I'm going to make a pair of them, because I'm going to make one as Boko and one just as a Class 28. And then I've got to go with them. I started building a load of conflat peas, which are the... the type of ones that the Condor, which is the container door-to-door service, ran with. And then I need to draw the containers for them. I've drawn some container wagons, some other types. I've got conflat A's and conflat L's and stuff, but there's a... It's like a conflat B or something? I can't remember what it's called now. There's a conflat that's for the a different size of container. I started drawing them end of last year and just never finished it. Happens a lot. So I've got a stack of those that I'm in the process of building, but I'm now looking at them going, I mean, they're all right, but I've got better brakes now, so I'm going to retrofit the better brakes if I can. Because it's a skeletal wagon, you really want to do that. Boko based on the show of the books. It'll primarily be based off of a Class 28, but more books. I've not really seen the show. And this always confuses people, because, you know, I'm looking at this and going, Gordon looks a bit dumb, but Gordon looks a bit more consistent. So I'm much more book oriented because I'm just an old person. So I'll probably go the more of a Class 28. I'm going to have the not wraparound windows because that sounds like suffering. Trying to get the glazing in. I've got the face. That's ready to go. It's also the same face for Daisy as it happens. Although I'm going to make mine a little less done up. Oh, top of Gordon's Hill. I did that without noticing. Down the other side. And I've got a mile and I need to stop. So I'm going to not accelerate into Ellsworth. Try and check my speed at no more than 60. Yeah, I don't know how strong my Boko would be, but hopefully enough to pull a few coaches, and the plan is to make him have both bogies be powerable, but probably only power the co-bogey on each of them. Purely because motors are expensive. But that's not to say that I couldn't, you know, put it in later. It would just be I would not build it with both, I would build it with just the one. That's a red. Ooh, that was... okay, game. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Oh, make me going too quick. Oh, dropping down to 15 from line speed is mean, especially at the bottom of that hill. Anyway, we're at Wellsworth. And I now slowly drive at 15 miles an hour into the platform. I'm really looking forward to DLC for this game. Not because there's not enough stuff to do already, just because I want to see what they do. Personally, I want some more freight options, like having, you know, coal trucks actually loaded with coal would be nice. Stone trucks actually loaded with stone. Timber wagon, like bolster wagons, that'd be kind of nice. I don't know, maybe some different tank wagons, having, I don't know, a train that goes to the dairy. That'd be good. Have a siding in the dairy. So James's tanks aren't just driving between Knapford Yard and Dickerstown Yard. A little bit more variety of other bits and pieces might be quite nice, but again, I'm a boring person. I like my freight stock. The passenger coaches are already covered. They've got more variety them, I think, than anything else. Emily's coaches is one that I'm surprised they haven't got, given Emily. I don't feel like there'd be that much work to do if you made them 4-wheelers rather than 6-wheelers, because it's basically just a reskin, and the branch line coach is already functionally a reskin of Annie and Clarabelle. Although I do notice that Annie and Clarabelle are mirrors of each other, so the doors open the wrong way round on one of them, I forget which. Or they're rotationally mirrored and they open away from the centre of the train. I'll have to find out sometime. I'll have to go and track them down. Oh yeah, of course Mavis. Mavis is always my go-to, but it's the I don't think Mavis will be a, you know, DLC drop 1 thing. As much as she would be very nice. I took my Mavis out today, actually. I think she's one of the few ones that had a bit of a run. Yeah, no, I like my quarry I like my stone wagons, therefore I like my quarry wagons, therefore I like my quarry locos. I've actually got 3 or 4 different Mavises. Because I've got conventional boring black Mavis. I've got Northwestern blue Mavis. I've got Amy Roadstone yellow and grey Mavis. And I'm reasonably sure I've got a British Rail green 04 shunter somewhere. I do. My grandmother has it. That was it. I wanted to have some examples of stuff I've done that was nice, and it sits on a shelf, so she's got a few of my locos and wagons and stuff now. Not the functional bit of the loco. I make hats, as I've hopefully described before, in that I take a Dapple Terrier, a Dapple B4, or a Dapple Ginty, because then you can get them reasonably cheap. I'm not going to say fairly cheap, they're reasonably cheap for what they are. Although I heard people talking about the price of 00 stuff today, and anyway, I make a top that fits on the body. So my new Thomas is a terrier, as was my old Thomas. And the new Thomas body is a bit smaller, it's a bit more compact, and it's a bit more accurate to the... It's not really accurate to the show. Accurate to the books. I've tried to make him a bit more show accurate, but I've got him in the darker blue rather than the lighter blue. To differentiate a bit. Got a load of 07s as well, because I've got Salty. I've got 2 or 3 different bodies for Salty. I think Henry is going to be the candidate myself, because the Flying Kipper is such an easy DLC. The only problem I can see is I've got 2 miles to go, so I'm going to ease off the accelerator and look at the map. How do you get from the harbour here to the main line? You can't. Not without going up to Sportsfield Halt, setting back, and then doing that again. So you can't run the Flying Kipper from the dock. That's the biggest issue of why I don't think Henry's going to be the first DLC character. Unless they change the map a bit. Which they could. They could do that. But given that they haven't, you'd think there's... You know, they've got all the other branch lines set up to begin, but they don't have them followed up. I think someone's doing some looking, and they found that there's... All of the north coast of the island is actually, because it's been modelled as the topographic map, all like the inlets and harbours and stuff are all there, and the estuaries and stuff. It's not harbours. So it will be possible at some point to do a load of stuff. I think the Little Western is a strong candidate for a early DLC, because that then gives you access to the Arlesdale. And if they're being modern canon relevant, it gives you access to the coal mine and the nuclear plant. Oh, that's bright. Oh, there's James. There we go. The other one, of course, would be Edward's branch line. The Edward's branch line might be a bit limited. I don't know. Oh, I need to stop in soon. Yeah, Cranky. I forget Cranky because Cranky is a show-only thing. I would not be opposed to an Edward DLC. By no means. Edward is one of my favourite characters. There's Thomas. Okay, fine, Thomas, just ignore me. So Duck's branch line, I think, is a strong contender for DLC. Edward's branch line's a strong contender. Having a bit more going on at the quarry and having Mavis and Toby would be nice. The Skarloey Railway at some point would be an obvious contender. The Arlesdale Railway. It really depends on how they go about their DLCs. Now, I've got one of Dovetails of the games, and it was a gift. So I'm not that familiar with how their DLC works, and I didn't know how the doors work, which is why I'd only really played that one. Sort of generic locos, Donald and Douglas would be a good add-on into the game for goods trains. Bear, if they want the curveball. You know, have the high mech trundling about. Oh, lock the doors. There we go. Trying to think. What else would be a... I've got nothing for Gordon. Has James picked... Does it just not like me? Because I've just done a mission. Specifically, drive as Gordon. I just did that. Complete a timetable mission. Done that. Didn't like it. Managed to work for Thomas, managed to work for Diesel. do I just have to do a James mission? I guess I'll do a James mission and see how that goes. What's the... Vicarstown Yard. No, that's Diesel or Thomas and Diesel. That's a James and Percy mission. What we got here? No worries. Have a nice day. Emily and the Express. It'd be useful if there was just a list of missions, because I'm apparently a blind person. Leaves. Alright. I'll have a go at this one then. I'm probably going to get to bed myself.
Leaves. One morning, two men were cleaning Gordon after he had acted rather foolishly and ended up rolling off the turntable and into a muddy ditch. "Mind my eyes," grumbled Gordon. "Have you ever seen so much mud?" said one of the cleaners. "No, I haven't," said the other. "You ought to be ashamed, Gordon, letting yourself get so dirty." "But," thought Gordon, "I don't have time to worry about my appearance like some engines do." The hosing and scrubbing suddenly stopped. Gordon opened his eyes, but quickly closed them again when he saw who was standing in front of him. "Wake up, Gordon," said Sir Topham Hatt, "and listen to me. Given your recent behaviour, I've decided that you will pull no more coaches until you prove to me that you can be a really useful engine. Perhaps pulling trucks for a while will teach you a lesson." "Yes, sir," said Gordon quietly. So Gordon had to spend his time pulling and pushing trucks.
Okay. What does this have to do with James? I feel like I've missed something.
Goods trains, he muttered. "Oh, the shame of it." And he bumped the trucks again. "Oh," cried the trucks as he shunted them around the yard. James was standing nearby watching him. "Trucks will be trucks," he said. "They won't with me," grunted Gordon. "I'll teach them." "They tried to push me down the hill this morning," he explained. "It's slippery there, so you'll probably need help." "I don't need help on hills," huffed James. Gordon laughed and headed off to get ready for his next goods train. "Come on, James," said his driver. "It's almost time for the express." And with that, James puffed away to collect his waiting coaches.
So I'm assuming the one's behind him. Do I get control, please?
The guard
Nope.
soon blew his whistle and James puffed away. Come on, he puffed to the coaches.
Do I get control? So we've got 4 coaches, handles for 4s. Let's see if this does anything in regards to getting me the mission requirements. A nice, relaxing, juddering up and down at 25 miles an hour. It's about the top speed you can do in preservation, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a light railways thing. I'm not too sure what the rules are in that regard, as I haven't needed to know. So this is a wet, rainy day.
The train was soon running nicely.
With leaves.
James began to feel confident.
Oh dear. James is feeling confident.
Slippery hills indeed. I don't need help, he puffed.
Well, that was a dramatic change in the weather. Well, it's going to make seeing the signals actually kind of difficult. Yeah, the fog is legitimately fog. So, internal, James's point of view. That lamp isn't really doing much. I'm not going to have time frame, I just need to get there. So yeah, if I'd had this set up from the outset, I'd have got probably all these done already, but never mind. 3.4 miles, direct to Wellsworth. I think Maron is the other side of the hill. I'm learning the map slowly. Some days I remember it. See, a siding there for milk would be good. But having it loaded into churns means you'd be using vans and siphons and the like, rather than milk tanks. Because churn traffic is different to, you know, liquid traffic. I mean, in theory you could empty churns into them, but I feel like that wouldn't, you know, be efficient. I've got any sanding gear. Game's a bit more simplified. This is Maron? Is this Maron? I don't remember. It's got the yard with the barber shop. Why can I not remember? I'll try and read a station sign as I go past. Oh, I've not been accelerating because it reset my W key. I wonder why I was slowing down. Crosby. There we go. Apparently my W had gone now, we're not doing that anymore. Like I say, I'm quite tired. I think I'm going to call it after this one, because try and play the game properly, or, you know, be coherent for the stream if nothing else. Well, didn't time that well. Yeah, no, this should be hopefully something I can recreate by the end of the year, of having James and some coaches trundling around. Ooh, I've got a mile before I need to stop. Well, a mile, well, 1.4 miles. Seems to be topping out about 70. Oh, excuse me. I think you can go faster, but, you know, hills and stuff. Half a mile, I need to be doing 20, so I'm gonna gradually slow down. Generally reckon 10 miles an hour and 100 yards, which is not a good metric, but it's the comfortable margins. Because I've got to be doing 20 when I pass the board, not slowing down when I hit the board. So now I've slowed down too soon. Although the rain effect is quite nice. It makes the paint seem a bit more cheerful. Also, that signal changed very late. These to a stop.
James soon arrived at the next station. He was feeling very pleased with himself, but he kept thinking about what Gordon had said. I'll show Gordon who needs help on hills, he said to himself.
Now, will I mess this up and need help or not?
But soon, James reached the bottom of the hill. Strong winds from the sea made the hill hard to climb. Leaves fallen from the nearby trees were now covering the rails, and the recent rainfall meant that they were too heavy to be blown away by the wind. I'll do it, he puffed. But his wheels slipped on the leaves.
I forgot this was a cutscene.
I must do it, he panted. But try as he might, his wheels kept on slipping, and he couldn't pull the train at all. Help! Help! Cried James. His wheels were turning forwards, but the heavy coaches pulled him backwards, and soon the whole train started slipping down the hill. James's driver applied the brakes, then going carefully reversed the train back down the hill, and they headed back to the station.
Whee.
When they arrived, they found Gordon waiting, who had seen everything. I thought you said you could climb hills, he chuckled. James didn't answer. He had no steam left to say anything. Ah, well, we live and learn, said Gordon. Never mind, little James. I'm going to push from behind. Whistle when you're ready.
Oh, am I driving? You going? There we go. Stop at Wellsworth Shunt Board. Yeah, Gordon looks how I feel. Ugh. Got the signal. Could see through the bridge. Wait a moment. Points have been changed. Signal is dropped. I've got 200 yards to go, so I might as well go a little brisker. Now, Gordon doesn't brake well. For all of his extra wheels, he doesn't really have the stopping power. The tender alone normally provides a good amount of stopping power. Oh, excuse me. Very gently up to the coaches. Yep, a mile an hour. Honk.
I'm ready, called James. So am I, replied Gordon. Pull hard. We'll do it, puffed James.
I think this was Edward in the original story. I don't remember. It seems like an Edward coded thing. Okay, I am in... my 2 cam is for Gordon. My 3 cam is for... Overspeed! My 3 cam is for James. It's gonna make driving somewhat interesting. Go front end cam. There we go. Power! And it's taking my W off again. Let's try it again. So if I go into the menu, I need to reset. So now into the leaf area, which definitely looks like leaves. I know that someone spilled brown on the track.
Clouds of smoke and steam towered from the snorting engines as they struggled up the hill.
Well, this doesn't really feel like struggling to me. I'm doing 50.
Do it, puffed James. We will do it, puffed Gordon. Finally, the 2 engines reached the top. We've done it! We've done it! They puffed.
Whee!
The 2 weary engines were puffed out, but they continued onwards to the next station.
And now we go to Marin. Now, how much brake force do these 2 provide? I mean, I could accelerate downhill. How fast can I actually go? Can I hit 80 before I slow down? No, let's not try that. Brake force is reasonable. Maybe. Maybe. Maybe it's not. Maybe I don't have enough brake force.
Wasn't long before they arrived. Thank you, Gordon, whistled James. Gordon whistled goodbye as he watched James puff away. Then slowly, he trundled back to his waiting trucks.
Well, that was fun. Hopefully. So, let's see if that's given me any points towards it. No. Did it give me any points for Gordon? No. Well, that's kind of disappointing. I hope you've